Welcome to another edition of Islanders Insider. I'm Stephen King, and we come to you from the locker room once again today here on the campus at Texas A&M University Corpus Christi. We're going to talk some Islander men's basketball with head coach Willis Wilson and some Islanders softball with head coach Stephanie Hughes as she gets prepared for her season to get underway this weekend. We also have a special feature focusing on Islander baseball and Islander center fielder Zach Gibson and his return to the field after injury last year. Let's start things off right now talking about hoops with Coach Willis Wilson. Coach, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good. First off, congratulations. A couple wins along the way over some Southland Conference heavyweights. Sam Houston State on the weekend and most recently Houston Baptist. Are we at a point this season where every game kind of falls into that category as a must-win?
Well, I don't know if it's a must-win, but every game gets bigger and bigger, whether you win or lose. If you're losing, you're trying to get on track. You're trying to position yourself for a seed for the conference tournament, trying to prepare yourself for postseason. If you're winning, that means you're in a conference race and you're battling for a league title. And so we've done ourselves well these last couple games after dropping a couple. It's good to be back on track, especially against good competition, and most significantly, if you're going to have a chance, you got to defend your home court.
Oh, there is no doubt. Now, looking back on the weekend and the win over Sam Houston State, it was definitely a complete team contribution. Your leading scorer was Bryce Duvier with only 10 points on the night. And with Rashawn Thomas in foul trouble, a number of his teammates ultimately just stepped up and made plays. Jelani Curry had 4 steals, and even reserves in limited minutes. Manny Toney, that steal and layup, which was a huge play in the game. And Victor Juracek, and he had a nice strip in the post and an offensive rebound, which kind of extended a big possession for your team. There was just a lot of good things that happened with a number of players.
Energy. That's all we talk about. We talk about generating energy. Find ways to generate energy for our team, running the floor, blocking shots, getting a deflection, being on the first for a loose ball, what we call a 50-50 ball. Those are ways that you can help your team without having to really stuff the stat sheet. And those are the kind of plays that, frankly, you have to be able to make if you're going to win basketball games against good competition this time of year.
And at the end of that game also, a couple key plays. Ehab Amin coming in and getting a couple defensive rebounds that were absolutely vital.
Well, when you think back over the last few years, we've had some wins that we let slip away because we didn't rebound the basketball. And as we talked about in the past, when teams rebound the basketball, they score at an incredibly high clip on that second and third opportunity. And so to be able to rebound the ball the way he did, you're just kind of stealing a win, so to speak, and really putting yourself in position to be able to close out games. That's something that we hadn't done in the previous couple ball games.
No doubt. Rashawn is clearly a special player, but do you believe on this team that one or two players can bring in the championship? Only one or two?
Well, if the question that you're asking is, can one guy carry it? I don't know that one guy can in this league. The way people really key on a guy as talented as Rashawn, I think everybody has to contribute every night. And we've even touched on this in the past, where the guys that are a part of our scout team do such a great job of preparing our regulars for game situations. I just think it's a collective sort of effort. I've never seen one player get awarded a crown for a league title or for a tournament title. You certainly have to have great performances, but we are without question a team, and the thing that we say daily, we lose together, we win together.
That Sam Houston State game was also part of our homecoming weekend festivities. And by the way, it was a huge success. Was the buzz and the energy in the American Bank Center at just a whole new level this past weekend?
It was. It was one of those times where as a coach you notice it, and we want to get accustomed to that. Mm-hmm. We don't want that to be few and far between. It's so important as we develop a program to have a home court advantage, and a home court advantage means you're going to have a crowd there cheering you on night in and night out. And the truth of the matter is, when you look around the country, teams that win championships, they have that advantage. The crowd can be as impactful as 2 to 4 to 6 points, maybe even 8 points on any given night.
Wow, that's a lot. You had a quick turnaround from Saturday to come back Monday night to take on Houston Baptist. What was on the line was sole possession of second place in the Southland Conference at this point. Let me ask you this. Do the standings ever come up in conversation when you're preparing your team for a game?
Occasionally, but at the end of the day, we want to just control what we can. There are a lot of things that get sort of thrust in the conversation this time of year. Pundits talking about seedings and who's in and who's out, who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. If you're not careful, you can get caught up in the statistics and all those sorts of things. Individual statistics especially can be a program killer. I call those EDBs, energy draining behaviors, when you focus on those kind of things. And so you've got to stay focused on the things that you have control of. And it's difficult this time of year. It's difficult to value process and to continue to work at your free throw, continue to work at your jump shot, work at your closeout, work at diving on the floor for loose balls. But those are the things that you do have control over that are ultimately going to make the difference in the outcome of the games.
For the Houston Baptist game, I hope whatever you said to Rashawn prior to that game was written down or somebody recorded it or whatever, because he came out of the gates on fire. He just played at a very high level, finishing with, I'm just saying, the halftime points, 27 points and 10 boards by halftime. You know, it was big. He stayed very active, moved his game to different parts of the floor, and just put up some outstanding numbers and just was really a man on a mission.
Yeah, I tell you what we did. We went back and just looked at his clips from the Nicholls State game. It was a game that he played a very good basketball game. Just looked at all the shot attempts where his head was high. He was finding the rim early. His process was good. He was on his jump shot. He was landing in the spot that he shot it from, and just trying to get him to refocus on some of those small things, not worrying about the things, again, that he can't control, but just really trying to value process. I thought he did an amazing job around the rim early on, got his confidence going by knocking down one or two of those, and then really looked to have a crisp rhythm with his jump shot. And that's something that we hadn't seen over the last 3 or 4 basketball games. And it was just exciting to see him be in the zone that he was in that first half, and to really get us off to such a great start.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, the team itself, they've prided themselves on aggressive defense, and against the Huskies picked up a season-high 17 steals, including 6 from Hamid Ali. How essential is this facet of the game for our team to be successful?
Well, there are certain areas of the game that you have to be good at, and I've always believed if you're going to have a good year, you need to be good in 3 statistical areas. If you're going to have a really good year and chance to have a special year, it turns into 4 and 5. One of those areas always has been rebounding for me, and that's an area that we've struggled with. And coming into this year, I thought back over the years, and this is something I really hadn't even talked about with our staff, but I think back to the Arkansas days when they were making their runs to the Final Four, Oliver Miller and Lee Mayberry and Todd Day and those guys. They led the nation in steals. They got rebounded every single game of the year, but they were so impactful on the defensive side with the ball pressure that they were able to implement with their press and with what they did in the half court. It made up a lot of ground, and so for me, it just became one of those things that if that's what we're good at, then let's accent it. Let's not run from it. It means that we give up a play here and there from time to time, but over the course of the basketball game, and especially in late games, it's really paid well for us.
No doubt. Now, you go back on the road this weekend to Nacogdoches, hoping to avenge the earlier season loss to Stephen F. Austin. You know, the first meeting, I could say maybe slipped through your fingertips at our house, but how much more difficult is it going to be to win in the Johnson Coliseum in front of that crowd?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. They have a home court advantage. They will have a good crowd on hand for Saturday's basketball game. They'll be boisterous. They'll yell at the players. They'll yell at the coaches. They'll try to get in your head and distract you. I think we're prepared to go into that environment. Again, for us, it's going to boil down to 2 teams that have a very similar philosophy with different styles of how they want to get to where they want to go. But we are able. We are more than able. And I fully expect us to go in there and compete like heck to try to pull out a win.
Coach, good luck.
Thank you.
Willis Wilson joining us once again here in the locker room. When we come back, we have a special feature focusing on Islander baseball center fielder Zach Gibson. Stay with us. More to come. Islander Insider continues.
Countdown to Katy, March 9th through the 13th at the Merrill Center. Go to Ticketmaster.com or Southland School ticket offices.
I'm Christy Felice, and I am the Director of Brand Engagement for the Houston Astros. Texas A&M University at Corpus Christi has absolutely helped get me to where I am today, and it is a small campus with large opportunities. You should definitely choose Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi.
97% of A&M Corpus Christi graduates will be working or in graduate school upon graduation. Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Discover your island. Visit us today at tour.tamucc.edu.
Okay, so in the fall of my junior year, my first year here in around November or December, I had herniated a disc in my neck between C6 and C7, and we had diagnosed that, I guess, over Christmas break. And I just kind of did like the rehab process, did some pain management, we just kind of grinded through that junior year. And then afterwards, went and got some professional opinions, try to figure out, what the best route to take, try to feel better, get healthy. So yeah, doctors at Memorial Hermann with the guys here at the training staff decided the best route would be a spinal fusion between 6 and 7. So that's to remove the vertebrae or remove the disc between those two vertebrae and fuse it with a bone graft. So I had the spinal fusion in August of 2008. The rehab time on that was about 5 to 7 months. The first couple months was just really getting the bone to adhere to the vertebrae, and then the rest was just getting strength back during that time. I couldn't really do anything. It was hard to eat, hard to do any kind of activity, kind of feel like an old man. Just pushing through, getting with the training staff here, Jill Austin, working with what I could with Coach Lee Scott. Really helped me out get strength back. I think I lost at one point around 25, 30 pounds or so, down to around like 160, like 165. And me and Malone kind of sat down, decided to, what the best course of action to do is for the spring. Decided to take a redshirt year in the spring because I had played pretty much not really full capacity my sophomore year at Alvin Community College, and pretty much grinded out a full season here junior year as well. So being senior year, we decided the best to sit out, get 100% healthy, and come back this year for the 2016 season.
I think it says so much physically, which is, where you're taking the conversation, to get in the weight room, rededicate himself, get back to not only where he was before, which was a big, strong physical player, but to go so far beyond that to start breaking records in the weight room. That tells you about his work ethic right there. But I think what might get missed in everything is, he went from being just a good middle of the order player the year before to sitting out an entire year, and now he's a team captain and maybe the biggest leader on the club, which that doesn't happen. You earn that doing great things on the field. He earned it in the weight room, on the side, in almost like the off season, which tells you how hard he's worked, how much his teammates respect him, and where he was after the surgery to where he is now. His teammates hold him very high, very high.
I can't wait to get after it. I've been waiting for this for a while. Like I said, it's just a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, ready to get back out there, a little bit of, how much the game means to you. And as any time being a senior, you never know, it could be your last year. So just going out there and just letting it fly.
He's gone without the game. A ton of these guys have never gone without it. They think they like it. They think they love it. You're not really sure until somebody takes it away from you, until somebody tells you, hey, you can't play this game for a year. Boy, you really find that hole inside of, man, where's it gone? Where's the camaraderie? Where's the, pushing each other, the wins, the losses? That's what I get from our alumni so much when they talk about, man, a year out and what they miss. You don't know until it's gone. And Zach's in that unique position as an active player who had to go without it for a year. Now you never catch him walking around the field. You never catch him with his head down, having a bad day. He's missed this game before. He's not going to miss anything again. And again, I obviously I'm rooting for all 35 of these guys. Man, I'm rooting for Zach Gibson to have a big year.
Lung cancer is the leading cancer killer in both men and women. Because most cases are diagnosed in the most advanced stage, early detection is the key to survival. Are you between the age of 55 and 74? Have a smoking history of at least 30 pack years? Radiology and Imaging of South Texas and Christus Spohn Cancer Center have joined together to offer affordable lung cancer screenings. Call 1-855-557-7646 to schedule, because what you can't see can kill you.
On behalf of all student athletes, thank you to the members of the Islander Athletic Fund for allowing us to earn a great education at the Island University.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to play the sports that we love.
Thank you for preparing us to achieve excellence in the classroom, in competition, and in our community.
Thank you for providing us with a first-class campus experience.
Thank you for the chance to represent Corpus Christi with pride. Thank you for making us Islanders for life.
Thank you for making us Islanders for life.
Thank you for making us Islanders for life.
Welcome back to Islanders Insider. At this time, we're going to talk some Islanders softball with the head coach, Coach Stephanie Hughes. Coach, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very, very good. Entering your 5th year on the island and are coming off of a 20-win season. Did your regular season success and the berth into the Southland Conference Tournament motivate your squad for even more this year?
Oh, for sure. I think that they've worked extremely hard in the offseason, in the weight room, on the field. They know they belong in that tournament now. They know they can compete to win it. And so it's something that it's been fun to see the transition from last year's postseason to this year.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. You have a significant change in some different areas on the field, but also in the coaching staff, one significant one in particular. Tell us about your newest member.
We have a new pitching coach. Her name's Brittany Rumfelt. She's a California native. We joke with her that she's foreign because she's from California.
Foreign for sure.
But pitched at the University of Oregon, and after completing her time there at Oregon, she went over and played and coached in Australia. So she's had a international experience, Pac-12 experience, which is huge in softball. She's brought a wealth of knowledge for pitching to the island.
Coach, speaking of pitching, Liz Carter returns after picking up 14 wins last season and a commanding 3.16 ERA. Now, her improvement is all about the work she puts in the offseason. Tell me about Liz and what she's done to prepare for this year.
Liz is she's an interesting athlete. She's somebody that I think really has come into her own in college. Usually you don't see that. Usually they have that craft early. She's a tall kid. She's a thin kid, and it's one of the things she's really had to work on throughout the break and in the fall is getting stronger in the weight room. I think she's throwing even harder now than she was last year, which is just a testament to how hard she did work in the off season. But she could easily be one of the top 3 pitchers in our conference, and I think the teams in our conference know that. And being that she's just a junior, I know there's a lot of coaches in our conference who are not excited that she still has 2 more years left of eligibility.
There's no doubt. And the one thing Liz also brings to the table, which is becoming more rare, is the fact that she has that bat that goes with what she's capable of doing in the circle.
Correct. Yep. She, she's going to be in that 4, 5, 6 hole depending on the day, whether she's pitching or not. So it's it takes a unique athlete to be able to do both, because you have to forget what's happened in the circle and go up to the plate, or forget what's happened to the plate and go back to the circle. But she's a competitor, and she's as quiet as she is, she competes at everything she does.
Now she heads up what could be considered maybe your deepest pitching staff since you came to the Island University. Break it down for us.
It's by far the deepest pitching staff we've had. We return Liz Carter, Stephanie Flores, senior from the Valley, and then junior Katie Blanner. So we have the 3 returning from last year. We didn't lose anyone. We gained freshman and Colleen Binke out of Brenham. She's another left-handed pitcher that's got a ton of movement. Again, a little bit like Liz, needs to get a little bit stronger, but the movement's there. The pitches that she has are very effective. And then we have a transfer from A&M Kingsville and Bella Rosas. So it's by far the deepest pitching staff we've ever had, but it's going to be, in my eyes, it's probably going to be one of the most successful we've ever had.
Do you look to capitalize with that depth in the starting roles or in the relief appearances?
I think both. I think you look at someone like Katie Blanner, who is going to be kind of that spot reliever. She's left-handed, doesn't throw as hard as Liz or Stephanie, but can come in and really be effective because of her movement. So, we're going to use them all in any way. I think we played a game last year where I used 3 pitchers in 7 innings, and in softball that's not as common as you would see in baseball, but it was effective that day. So, we're going to take it game by game and see, but they're going to have a great year.
Outside of pitching, some of the names and faces have changed for this season. Can you share with us, give me some of the new bats and some of the new gloves that are wearing the Island uniform?
Yeah, we've got 4 true freshmen who are all going to make an impact. Colleen on the pitching staff, like I said, she'll most likely just be pitching for us. Then we've got a freshman third baseman, Candace Had, likely to start at third base for us every game. And to say that for a freshman at a position like third base, she's someone that's been verbally committed to us for 4 years. So when I got hired, she was literally the 3rd recruit I got. So she's been waiting and she could, I truly believe, could easily go play in a bigger conference. Just wanted that small town atmosphere. We have Megan Mitchell, who's a second baseman, left-handed bat, right-handed glove. And then Adriana Ferris, who's a first baseman, probably going to be more of a DP role for us this year, has a lot of pop, a lot of power.
I mentioned earlier about putting that off-season work in. We talked about it with Liz Carter. And how accepting is a team about logging in the hours in the gym and on the field and the batting cages, etc.?
I think that especially with this group, they understand that just with the allotted time that the NCAA gives us, it's not going to be enough. And they've made it, and on their own, made it into a competition over break. Who can work out more? Who can take more cuts in the cage? And we put them into 2 teams, and just to have them, compete against each other. And, some of the things that we've heard that they've done, and, some of the girls were up at 1 a.m. hitting in the batting cage over Christmas break. And that just shows the dedication and where the direction that they want to go for this program.
Well, it gets underway this weekend, an exciting time for Islander softball and for Islander softball fans. And we're absolutely looking forward to it, Coach.
Me too. I'm excited.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Stephanie Hughes joining us here once again in the locker room. When we come back, we'll bring you up to speed on what's next for Islanders Athletics. Stay with us, more Islander Insider when we come back. Welcome back to Islanders Insider. At this time, let's focus on what's next for Islanders athletics. Islander women's basketball will take the court on Saturday the 13th as part of a doubleheader at Stephen F. Austin. Game time 3:30. And then on Wednesday the 17th, women's basketball will be back at the Dugan Wellness Center for a 7 o'clock start against Abilene Christian. Islander men's basketball on the 13th will also be competing at Stephen F. Austin. That start time 6 p.m. And on Monday the 15th, the Islanders will travel to New Orleans, Louisiana to take on UNO at 7 o'clock. Islander women's tennis will be on the road in Midland as they take on the University of Texas El Paso on Friday the 12th. And then on Wednesday the 17th, women's tennis will compete at Louisiana Lafayette. Both start times are to be determined. Islander men's tennis will continue their competition this season as they travel to Louisiana Lafayette. That start time to be announced on Wednesday the 17th. Islanders softball gets their season underway with the Islanders Invitational taking place at Chapman Field. The Islanders will take the field on Friday the 12th as they take on Iowa at 3 o'clock and then return to the field on Saturday the 13th at 12:30 in the afternoon to take on the Louisville Cardinals. They'll wrap things up on Sunday the 14th as they take on Iowa once again at 11:30 a.m. and follow that up with a 2 o'clock matchup against Sam Houston State. Once again, we want to thank Willis Wilson, head coach of Islander men's basketball, for joining us here today, as well as Stephanie Hughes, the head coach of Islander softball. Also, more importantly, we want to thank you for tuning in. For everyone here at Islander Athletics and the Islander broadcast crew, you've been watching Islanders Insider.
All right, everybody, if this doesn't get your toes tapping, then check your pulse.
The joy of cola, joy of bubbles, joy of fun, joy of Pepsi on your tongue, greatest taste sensation under the sun. Pepsi Cola.
Hey you, couch potato. What are you doing at home? This is where the action is. These seats are great. I can even yell at the coach from here. Hey, coach!
Hey, Coach, these are great seats.
I know, and it's a great game, too.
I wish I could sit here.
Hey, who's coaching the team?
Islanders basketball season tickets are on sale now. Call 825-BALL or visit GoIslanders.com to order yours today.